kind of regret not having used the Skype, you know? Yeah. So I understand that I'm standing here between you and more drinks, so I'll try to be short. So, you know, today in the morning I was running and I was wondering what really is a digital nomad? Like, what does that mean, right? It feels like people are poor, they like to have status, and they call themselves digital nomads. No, see, you disagree. But I wanted to just share 3 things sort of that helped me to learn on my journey, and very practical things. The first one is really very simple. Something that I learned only a couple of years ago is how to keep a journal. You know, when I hear of a journal years ago, you know, you hear of a 15-year-old teenager, you know, writing in the diary. So I think I want to talk about that briefly. I also want to talk about a commonplace, which is a writer's tool. It's sort of a repository that helps people to get inspired. And then the last thing is that I want to talk about is what I call sort of a clearinghouse. It's like a mechanism where you always try to stay in the moment, and you don't carry physical baggage and, you know, all kinds of baggage, you know. So I noticed the gentleman here is using his phone, so my speech is not very compelling. Yeah, so thanks so much, Jean-Louis, for hosting us. You know, thank you so much. Yeah, so really, when I started using a journal for the first time, a couple of years ago, it's really something you have to get into. But it's really something that has cumulative effects after a while. And I'm not sure how many of you are already using a journal or not. But it's something in this world where we live, where, you know, there's so many things, where we're always posting things on social media. But I really think if you have a journal where you can just post things for you internally and to talk about things, it's really a great mechanism to really understand the things that upset you, the things that really make you feel proud, the things you want to share, maybe not right away. And I think right now there's so much great software sort of built as a way to create a sort of great framework for journals that there's really no reason not to try it at least. So I really encourage you to try sort of using a journal in whatever way. You know, you can use it by having daily reminders about what you're grateful for, or just about what makes you upset, and just having sort of an internal dialogue, something that everybody has anyway. And so it's really something that you can put on paper every day. And I think the more you do it, the more you get into it, because then you really understand more about yourself, and the more you understand about yourself, the more you can contribute to society. So, so yeah, it's very simple that way. And the other thing with what's called commonplace, it's really sort of a repository that's really mostly for writers when they feel stuck, when they don't know what they should talk about, when they don't know what they should write about. They use sort of, they go back into a commonplace, which is sort of a collection of essays or quotes or images or something that inspires them. And initially I thought this is something that would be only applicable to writers, but I think anybody who's doing anything creative, and like most digital nomads are people who are very creative people, and so I think the commonplace is a really great tool for you guys to really collect things that you encounter on a daily basis, things you like, or, you know, things that inspire yourself, and then you can come back to it at any moment when you need to do anything creative, and you can really draw back into that inspiration that you had, you know, maybe months or years ago. So that's also pretty simple. It's just building these habits. And the third thing is what I call, it's a clearinghouse. And what I mean by that is really trying to build sort of a system for yourself where, you know, when you hear about digital nomads, people talk about, you know, not having a lot of luggage and all these things. But I think what you want to do as a human being is you want to stay present at all times. You want to have focus, and you want to be as much as possible focused on the present moment, and you want to have flow. But oftentimes we carry so much baggage from the past and from other people, and there's so many things we have to do, and it's so easy to get distracted, you know? Like this gentleman's using his laptop, taking notes. No, I'm just kidding. So really, there's so many things that we have going on all the time, and I think the more we can stay in the moment and the present, the more we can be productive as members of society. And I really think that that's something we should strive towards too. So yeah, so those are the three things that I just wanted to share. I want to do a meditation at the beginning so I could fill up more time. But yeah, so is there a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, you said giving back to society. I think that's a very interesting thing as being a digital nomad.
Yeah.
Because you don't really belong to a specific society. So I was wondering, do you mean like the online society, or can you describe society in your life?
Well, yeah, for sure. So I think what I meant by that is just, you know, everybody comes from a different background, from a different environment, and everybody has their own story. But I think most people have a sense where they want to give back to the world that they grew up in, or like use some of their talents or some of the views that they've acquired and where they know they're unique at, and really use that to give back to the world that they grew up in whatever way. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think I was thinking of society too much of a country. I think maybe community might be a better word. I don't know.
Yeah. So I just want to share things sort of today that, you know, helped me today to grow, and I think in this world that we live in, there's so many distractions and there's so many things we can do every time and every day, and there's so many events, and you can watch stuff on YouTube. But really understanding yourself better and really knowing what you really want, and not thinking so much about society and other people and all these things. Like really understand what do you want and what's important to you. And I think it's great that we have all these resources right now and all these role models. But I think it's really important that you really understand what you want and what you need. And I think the more you can do that with things like keeping a journal or writing, or, you know, whatever that is for you, the more you can be at flow with yourself. Yeah. Any other questions?
Wondering if you've learned something about yourself in the past month that really surprised you.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, I learn things all the time. You know, I think one thing I learned, like, you know, in San Francisco, I went through this thing called Landmark. So I didn't actually sign up. I just went to a workshop. I'm not the best guy to learn in group settings, so then I didn't actually sign up. But one thing that I really learned from there was everybody has blind spots, and it's really difficult to understand what blind spots you have, because all the experiences we have ourselves are so subjective. And so getting feedback and talking to other people are really good ways to like understand your blind spots, or having a journal, all these different things. Yeah, so that's definitely one thing that I learned in the past month.
If you in the video description it says Patrick lives without a suitcase.
Yeah, so I submitted my initial biography, and then they said we need something more exciting, so they scrapped that entirely. And I just wrote something that I lived in different countries, and I didn't live without a suitcase, which I just like got rid of a couple weeks ago actually. After like my friend told me how he lives, and I was like, wow, I thought I was like minimalist, you know. And then I was thinking, what do I actually need, you know? So yeah.
So here's my question. Like you said, if something you like, keep it for as inspiration. What if you buy something and it's physical and you need to carry it, or if you travel and somebody give you a gift? Or
yeah, so I take photos of gifts and then I just have them in my journal.
And you give the gift back.
No. Then you can like, I don't know. It depends on the gift. You know, sometimes the gift you have to eat it. You know, or like. It depends on the gift.
What if it's the, let's say, painting, or like, let's say you buy something like physical. Let's say you found a, I don't know man, what your hobbies are. If you buy something physical, you have to like, you know, there's not only so much room you can put in your luggage. Like, what do? You just keep it physical. You don't buy it.
I mean, yeah. These days, everybody talks about just living out of a backpack. But I think it really depends on your personal taste and your personal circumstance, because it's really different. Like maybe like for a few months you're gonna live like in one location and you can accumulate stuff. So your core like permanent collection is very small, but your temporary stuff you can have things, you know, and then maybe you can give those away. So I think it's really about understanding really what you need and really what's important to you, and having having that core, and then everything else like comes and goes, right? And really understanding like what your preference is and what your like tolerance is and what your situation is. And I think right now maybe people tell people, oh, like you should always have like only like a few things, but it really depends on your circumstances and the situation you're in right now. If you know that you're going to be in San Francisco for the next year, you can probably get more things than someone who's like has to stay more mobile. But yeah, getting rid of things. Yeah, it's most things you don't actually need, right? Like you don't need a few pairs of clothes. Like you have a laptop. If you have a laptop and a phone, it's like you can do so many things with that already. So yeah.
Quick observation to that, and I have a watch too. He doesn't. That's what he's trying to say.
What do you
A watch and like.
Yeah, because I don't have the money to buy a watch, and he
He
does.
has he has the money, but like it's a minimalistic. It's just like
what is
stuff
this
just
essential?
doesn't matter. Exactly. Yeah.
It's really different. Like just understand yourself better. What's important to you, right? So maybe you do need a watch. So it really like don't listen to everybody else. Just like figure out what's important to you, and like find your values and what matters to you, and then build your own system and your own world and your own things, rather than like always like applying other things from what other people say. And yeah. Does that makes more sense?
Yeah, any other question?
We like stuff. That's what he's trying to say.
American man, consumerism.
How many of you guys live in San Francisco or like don't live in San Francisco? Half the people. Yeah, so yeah. Any more questions? No.
Thank you very much.